Okay, so just want to say good evening to everybody. And my name is Caroline McGuigan, and I would like to welcome you to Caroline's Corner. This is a new venture for me, and I have a lot of mixed feelings, a lot of emotions around it. But my intention is to create a safe place for conversations to take place and to facilitate sort of unique conversations with people who want to find meaning in their life and share it with the world. So it's a family affair. So I'm going to rock away, and my son Connor will be doing a bit of editing and sharing it. And I'm a firm believer for that who is meant to hear it will hear it. So we let it gather its own momentum and its own energy and do whatever it is to do. It's just a blessing to be doing this. And then Amy, my daughter, she's great for saying, "Now, Mama, that's far fetched or that's whatever." So the two of them have my back and they're both behind me, which is lovely. And I know their dad's smiling from where he is, and I know he's very proud of us as a family. Very much so. That I know for sure. So yeah, just to give you a very, very short overview to date, I'm a qualified therapist, and I have just recently chose to practice again. A founder of an organization. I came from passion, and that was around suicide prevention and mental health for many, many years, over 20 years. And part of that was a CEO. And then part of that would have been part of Social Entrepreneur Ireland, the Iris O'Brien Foundation, where I got an opportunity to be mentored around business and strategy, but also keeping the passion and the heart around it. So that was part of my life, and I got to facilitate in Maynooth, the Foundation and Counselling Skills for many years. And I joined Amnesty in a team for about 5 years. We took on mental health as a human rights issue. And I've done many other things, but they're sort of the basis and the organisation that I set up. I'm very blessed that I did so with my husband, John. So that's the general gist of me for now. And I feel so privileged and blessed to introduce one of my soulmates. Isn't that right? One of my soulmates, Olivia. You're just one of my earth angels. So the two of us said we're going to start tonight off, and we're going to trust wherever the conversation goes. We have a little bit of structure, and then Olivia's going to pop in and out on a regular basis. Would that be right, my friend?
Absolutely, Caroline. And thank you so much for inviting me along. I'm absolutely honoured to be the first guest on your
Ditto.
podcast. And I'm also honoured to be a regular contributor for this
Absolutely.
season.
Yeah.
So
You're not getting
very,
away.
very
You're
grateful.
not getting away. I'll find you. I'll find you.
We may as well record a podcast with all the voice notes back and forth. But
Absolutely.
yeah, but look, yeah, just really, really delighted to be here by your side and for the first one as well.
Thanks, darling.
And maybe I can kick off with how me and you first met. So
I'd love it. Do you want to, and it's up to you, do you want to give a sense of any of the work you've done to date, or any, if you want, it's entirely down to you, my love.
yeah, so I suppose at this moment in time, I am working in the tech sector.
Okay.
I work for LinkedIn, and I get to lead a fabulous team based across Brazil, Holland, and Dublin. So the area I'm in is customer success consulting.
Okay.
And I'm very fortunate because over my time at LinkedIn, I can't believe I'm there as long as I am. But I've been very lucky to have had the opportunity to work with some of their employee resource groups. And also now I am part of their diversity, inclusion and belonging committee. Brilliant. In the EMEA region and the TAM region too. So we've very exciting events planned, over the coming weeks, and we're doing brainstorming for next year too. But I suppose, yeah, before that, I would have worked in the banking space, banking area.
Yeah.
And of course, the charity sector. So I was a director on the board of the charity yourself and John founded a national suicide prevention charity. And I was just thinking today, wow, like the work that you and John did, you were really the foundation. Obviously, I know you were the founders, but to think about, when I think back on that time, the events that were run nationwide,
Yeah.
the government agencies that you were involved in,
Mm-hmm.
the huge responsibility running, you know, the organization. And I think for me, it formed a really strong foundation in business and has enabled me, I suppose, to have progressed where I am today.
Brilliant.
And I've learned so much, you know, along that journey. But you know, some of the experience that like we shared together, you know, we spent time in the community, in prisons. And, you know, one thing I always remember you and John doing, and, you know, how you showed up, you were always so persistent in your efforts to bring around change, the change that was needed around suicide and mental health. And you know, I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you.
And I know, you know, a lot of people are, and you know, the programs you created that are, you know, they're still going, but I mean, where they came from, the essence, very, very special. So I really wanted to acknowledge that.
That means a lot.
You know,
that
before
really means a lot. Else. That really, really means a lot. Thank you so much. And we've been on some of the journey. And before we, and like you said, where we met, I have a little, and it was actually Connor made this suggestion, and anyone that comes onto Caroline's Corner, there's 4 sort of questions to throw out there, right? And just random answers, or go with your gut, or so. Am I all right to rock with those for a bit? And then if that's okay.
I'll do my best.
And and then you just, you know, stop and start, and whatever, as we say, we're going to trust the conversation. So question number 1, who is your hero?
Well, you know, the first time, or the first person that came to mind, much to my husband Eugene's dismay.
Good woman.
You know, my mother, Maura Hunt, is her name. Very special lady.
She is. She is.
And for many different reasons, she came into, you know, it just
Stay with that. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Absolutely. You know, there's a lot of things that come to mind. Her kindness, her compassion, her inner strength, and you know, her life journey, her own life journey, which has been pretty incredible. And she's a very humble person. She's been through an awful lot in her life. She's experienced a lot of joy as well. But you know, so my mother has had 8 kids, and has 8.
Absolutely.
1 isn't here in body, but is in spirit.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about him in a while. But
he'll make sure. He'll make sure.
Mom, you know, 8 kids. I often wonder how her and my dad did it. Like 8 kids working full time. She worked as a primary teacher for 37 years.
God.
And, you know, in addition to 8 kids, she actually looked after her brother-in-law. Eugene was his name. He's no longer with us, but he was my dad's brother. And Eugene had additional needs, and he lived in a house beside us. But she really, like, the moment, you know, my dad and her got married, she really, like, Eugene was like another child for her. You know, she cooked his dinner every day. She looked after all his washing, laundry. Very special relationship they had. They really did. He absolutely loved her. Loved her. And he really came into, you know, my heart strongly when I was thinking about Mom.
Wow.
And he isn't the only one. Like I think of her 2 uncles at the time that were elderly. You know, I don't know how she managed it all. All of us, her full-time job, and caring for elderly people.
Wow.
But she did it, you know, and she's an unbelievable woman. And you know, it really, I guess, so I have a little son, James, who is 18 months old. And so when James was born, you know, he had a very hard start in life.
He did.
And my mother was just so, I mean, she was the calm presence that I needed at the time. And she really got me through it. And so, like, the day that we were due to bring him home, he was getting a few tests done, and they noticed something that was potentially life-threatening. And instead of going home, he was brought to ICU in the Coombe. And then, you know, it's mad thinking he went on then in a baby ambulance, something I had never even heard of. You know, you just, I suppose, unless you
neither had I.
experience it.
No.
And say there was a doctor with him, we weren't allowed to go with him in the ambulance, but we were behind it, going from the Keene to Crumlin. And he gave me his mobile and he said, I'll ring you the second I get in the door. So Eugene and me were behind him. And, you know, sometimes I even think now if I'm up in Dublin with work and I just think of that journey that James made himself, you know.
Yeah.
So thankfully, you know, that night, when I think back, it was definitely probably the hardest night of my life and of my husband Eugene's life, because we really didn't know what the future held for James. And I don't know what happened, but, you know, sometimes I really think my brother Derek, he's no longer with us, but I don't know, was it something miraculous? But I do know that night that I was on my knees and I was praying to Derek.
Yeah.
And I said to him, if there is anything you can do for our baby James, please do it. I was so like, you know, when stuff happens, you've no control over.
No.
I was really connected to my brother in that moment. And I know you and I have talked about a lot of, say, moments of synchronicity.
Very much.
Like I wholeheartedly believe that the connection continues.
Yeah.
And the love still continues. And definitely, you know, it's been a few years since I felt it as strong, but I really feel that he carried me through. And even like when James came early, so I was in labour for a few days before he made an appearance. But even the night he was born, a song came on the radio that really, like, I mean, it was strange. It came on. It was a song that Derek, you know, really loved. Yeah. And I really felt he was there with me. And I actually burst out crying. Yeah. And I remember the midwife said, you know, this is so normal. And then another song came on that reminded me of some other special people. And I really feel from, like, you know, the start of it, that night, that they were all with
all by your side, yeah.
And even in the days like that followed, you know, when we first went to Crumlin, we were being prepared for a long stay there. Yeah. And it was like, you know, that moment when the ground just goes from beneath you. Yeah. And I was really worried about Eugene as well, because like we were both in such a state of shock.
Complete shock.
And but to go from that to, you know, a while later, your baby being taken out of the incubator and put in your arms.
Oh God. Oh, Olivia.
Like, it's, you know, to this day, that moment, you know, I remember when we got home from Crumlin, I was text my family or WhatsApp group and I said, like, this is the happiest day of my life. And I don't think anything could ever come close to it, because it's like all my prayers were answered.
They were.
I was able to bring James home. We were able to bring him home. But, you know, and this always stays with me, when we were leaving, you know, we met a mother when we were getting into the lift, and, you know, she said, you're so lucky to be leaving.
To be gone home.
And, you know, we are, and I still, since that experience, it's like I still, you know, can't believe it.
Yeah. But you often say to me as well, sweetheart, anytime we're talking, you're very clear. You always say to me, and my experience is that absolutely their essence and their strength, and, you know, from another part, not of this earth, there was a strength that sat with you that night from what you had shared with me. And anytime we talk about James and all, you always share how, you know, how blessed you are that you walked out of that hospital, and you always, your heart stays with the parents and the babies that haven't or are still there. And I always, when we're chatting, you always bring all those other people in to hold in your heart. And I know that's difficult.
I know even say when I say if I'm in the office, I work from home now, I work remotely, but an odd time I go up to Dublin, and like even now, the road I drive in now because of where I'm living is by Crumlin.
Yeah.
And I just, life is strange that way. It's like I am so fully aware of the families that are in there with their children long term. And, we just at the tip of the iceberg. Like you meet such incredible people.
Beautiful people,
in there. And I suppose, every night when I'm going to sleep, I thank the universe that my little man, is healthy, and that he's with us and he's keeping us busy.
He certainly is.
Like James can do anything as far as I'm concerned. He had us up at 4:30 yesterday. It doesn't matter. He can do anything.
I know.
He's a little blessing for us, and it's coming up. So Eugene and me during the pandemic decided, like everything, like a lot of people, we were reassessing things, and we just really felt like we would love to live near the sea. And we were just saying last night, it's coming up on a year now, and
since you've moved.
That we moved, and so an opportunity came up to build a house down here in the village. We live in Dunmore East, in the sunny
beautiful, beautiful village,
and it's a really beautiful village. And so I just feel, it's because I grew up. I suppose I'm from Tulsk originally in County Roscommon inland, so it's still a huge novelty for me to see everywhere now. But even that, I feel very connected to nature. And feel very, very blessed. And to have him, that's what we were saying when we moved here first. Like James was only like, he wasn't walking or anything. He was a little baby, and now he's like a toddler
running around.
And, but it's incredible that we've been all on this journey together, and it just gets it's been very special from the start. So
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
But say, Mom.
Absolutely.
She got me through
absolutely
that, and the months that passed, I was very hard to process. And I think, becoming a mother, I think they call it matrescence is the term for it. It's it's such an adjustment, and I don't think anything can really prepare you for it. And it definitely, I think it was quite a traumatic experience overall. And I was lucky to have her and friends and family, the people that supported us and gathered around us. It was pretty amazing. And
an amazing ma'am. An amazing ma'am.
It's just, to have someone that I feel really lucky that she's in my life, and that we've such a close relationship too. So she's really helped me on that journey.
Oh, thank you so
Still
much.
Does.
Yeah, she certainly does.
Like James's second mommy, so he loves her very much.
Thank you. And are you okay we check in with a couple of more questions? How's this for you? Is this pace rise? And okay. So. Okay, I'll go with you, sweetheart. What was your first job?
My first job.
Yeah.
So my first job was as a barmaid in our local pub at home.
Cool.
A nice country pub. It would be well known in Roscommon. So Clash was the name of it. And unfortunately, it's not open anymore. But I spent 10 years all in all working there on a part-time basis. Then I took a bit of time off. But, I was kind of back and forth between college and work, but I absolutely loved it.
Brilliant.
I loved it because the people you'd meet there, and I mean the crack, especially when you're young at that age, it's like the dream job. And my friends used to be coming out, and it was great. I loved it, and it was just a short walk up the road, short walk home, and there was a main road in front of it, and people would stop in randomly, passing by, and
lots of energy,
lots of cool conversations too, because as like people share lots
with a few drinks on them.
Yes. And
Brilliant.
I loved that though. I loved it.
Good. Okay, so the next question, and one thing you would say to your younger self.
So there's lots of things.
No, God.
But I guess one thing that would come to mind would probably be to listen to my intuition and to my heart more, because I definitely wasn't. It was there,
Yeah,
but I wasn't listening to it. And for the majority of my teens, it was a difficult time for lots of different reasons. And it was only when some extraordinary things happened that I had no choice but to listen. And when I did listen, my life started getting a lot better and a lot happier.
cool.
And obviously there's still, challenges and adversity, but I always remember my early 20s feeling like my life was beginning.
Okay. And I know, in the episodes as we go on, different conversation will go in and out of some of what we're just, chatting about now. So thank you, sweetheart. And then I suppose, would there be a line or a statement or a quote in this moment, because it'll change, that stands out for you, something significant?
Yeah. So I know we both share a lot of love for the Irish poet, John O'Donoghue.
Absolutely.
He's no longer with us. And it was actually you that introduced me to his work. But would you believe my mother had some of his books at home? I just hadn't read any of them.
Yeah.
But there is a beautiful poem called Bannacht at the start of that book. So Bannacht is Irish for blessing. And what I love about this poem is how it describes, I guess, grief and loss.
Yeah.
Any type of grief or loss in your life. But also the power of love that surrounds you in it.
Yeah.
If you let it and change it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like when you're knocked off balance, I guess it speaks about how the earth can restore that balance.
Okay.
But you have to be, I guess, tuned in, and that's everyone's own journey.
Big time.
And I know it certainly took me years to get to a place where I hear them whispers, as Oprah calls them, the whispers of the soul or heart. So I'll read it now.
Thank you. Look, I adore him. I have to. And again, over time, particularly in the last 3 years, some of his interviews and some of his words and poems, and again, in time, I'll share the why and how it has an impact on my life and how it's helping me on a daily basis. So yeah, I just think this lad rocks. I really do.
100%. It's just every word is beautiful. It's actually hard to pick one paragraph, even in any of his books. They're brilliant. But I suppose just to say as well that some very special people come to mind as I read this. And even though I didn't know this poem, at the time that I experienced the first loss in my life, it really resonated with me years later, and I really love it. So just to mention, the 3 people I think about when I read this poem is my brother, Derek. So Derek was 16 when he left this earth. He was a really beautiful soul. He loved music. He loved the crack like myself.
Good.
And so Derek died by suicide, and it was, as you know, an earth-shattering experience for all of our family. And grief as well, it's every grief is unique.
Absolutely.
And different. And it's very, Derek, it's his 23rd anniversary in January. I can't believe it. But, depending on what's going on in your life, sometimes it can hit you harder. And I know that, say, between the move down here, and worrying about James, I know that and my mother was actually down here in January for for his anniversary last year, and we both, it's like we were transported back in time.
Yeah.
And I was like amazed because, you know, but it just shows like time, it really, like your body even remembers, and I could feel it in my body, and I've done a lot of healing work.
Absolutely.
So like, it's important to acknowledge that when we are talking about loss, that yeah, it's every day brings something new.
Very much.
While, you know, I don't, thankfully, you know, I've been able to, you know, a gift, I guess, from loss is living your life fully, appreciating it, honoring your life. And I feel like I am doing that. But of course, there are moments.
Of course, absolutely. So,
and say the other two people I just like to mention, because, you know, these are such lovely guys, and I think it's really nice and important to remember people that aren't here anymore. In body.
Very much.
So Eugene Tahini, 6 months after my brother died, our first cousin, who lived in New York, died suddenly, and he was just 29. Very, very special person. I had spent a summer, my summer holidays the year before he died in New York with him and his parents. And I remember he taught me my first song on, or one of my first songs on, he used to be in a band on his electric guitar, and he had a Fender Stratocaster, a really cool guitar, okay? And his wife was kind enough to send it to me after he died. But so he also comes to mind. And then our other first cousin, a year later, Michael Desmond, died in 9/11. So these were 3 first cousins, died within a year and 9 months of each other, and all on my father's side. So my dad's sisters, Vera and Margaret, both lost their sons. So, you know, and I often think of my father as like, after everything with Derek, you know, having to go over, he was very close to Vera and Margaret, and just having to go through that all again.
Can't even imagine.
It was just, it was very close together. And I guess, like, I mean, there are no words for the loss. And I always felt like I didn't even get to process them too, because they were so close to Derek. It was only years later. But the last time I seen Eugene and Michael Desmond was at my brother's funeral, because they were so upset about Derek, and they had flown over. And so, yeah, I mean, that again shows the fragility of life, and why we really need to be like living a life true to ourselves and doing what makes us come alive. So I have them in my mind, and I'm going to read this poem now.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bannacht. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the grey window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colours, indigo red, green and azure blue, come to awaken in you a meadow of delight. When the canvas frays in the kirk of thought and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so, may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life.
Oh, that is so lovely, isn't it? Like, I could relate to every bit of it. And you know, when you just feel the ground is going to open up, or there's nothing, it's like a volcano, and it's like, where do I put my foot? You know, it's just, that is very special to me as well. And the bit of May, you know, like, hopefully, please God, hope and willing that in that horrible place within yourself, that somehow the ground steadies and holds you. Yeah, it's very powerful, isn't it?
It's so powerful. And you know, I think when we think of grief or loss, of course, like it's such a hard experience, but there's also like real gifts and blessings in grief, and it can be very hard, you know, to see them, I suppose. And it depends on the day.
Absolutely.
It depends
Yeah.
on the hour of the day.
Yeah.
But I do know that from, you know, my own experience, that I feel such a connection to the people I have known that have passed on.
Yeah.
And there's been so many synchronicities that have happened
absolutely.
to make me believe. And no more than that night praying to my brother for help. You know, I remember as well another time, a special one with my cousins, Eugene and Michael Desmond, in New York a few years ago. So I was over at work.
Yeah.
And say our office is in the Empire State Building.
Okay.
And so like you know, even I remember the first time I went there going to work, I was like, oh, I wish they were here. Because they'd have been, and I know they would have been very proud, and they'd have, you know, came and like they showed me a really good time there when I was only 13. So I can't imagine what it would have been like when, you know, at my age now. But I was actually up giving doing an introduction and a presentation, and I was saying a bit about my family in New York. Okay. They've been very, you know, we'd have had a great relationship with them. They'd have always been back and forth to Ireland, and we would also have spent time with them in New York growing up. So I didn't go into the detail that they're no longer with us, but I just said they were in my heart. And so after it, I just walked over to the window because we're up on like one of the high floors, and I was looking at all the skyscrapers, and I was like, wow. And then I am not joking, I just nearly fell over because I was looking at, say, one of the skyscrapers directly in front of me. Yeah. And there was this massive banner that like covered loads of floors. Okay. And I actually was like, I was wondering, was I seeing things? But all I could see was the name Eugene. Yeah. And I just was like, oh my God. And I grabbed my phone and I took a picture because I knew people might leave me when I got home. And like, so, you know, when I was zooming in more, I could see it was an advertisement for, I think, the Eugene Hotel or something. Yeah. But it doesn't matter what it was. I thought it was at that moment in time. Yeah. Strange. But it was lovely too.
And I think like, and I know we'll chat some more about that, just our own experience of synchronicity, and it's a very personal, and like that, it's that knowing inside you. It's not about it. It's not an explaining, or it's not about having to, you know, everybody has their own relationship with life. Everybody has their own relationship with the universe, or whatever word people choose. And it's extremely personal. I think, like you said, Olivia, that you had a knowing about Derek, and then while you were there honoring two beautiful men, you know, Eugene and Michael, like within life, an experience came to you, and that's what's the important bit. And it's like, for me, I know now, particularly now for sure, that I have my experiences. I don't really have to, unless it's in a nice conversation where there's an openness and people are like we're doing, you know, we're open to finding meaning in our lives. And particularly where there's really traumatic and painful experiences that half the time you can't get your fucking yourself off the ground, or you're on the ground. You're just horrific. And like that, it's a knowing inside you. And I think that's the bit, if you can trust, if you go back to what you said as well, Olivia, that instinct and gut, it's more than your five senses. And when you can open and have an open mind, and allow whatever it is that you need to hear while you're on this earth, in this lifetime. And I think that's what we're chatting about. And for you, you've seen the value of being open, and that synchronicity of, okay, right, got the message, thank you. And it's not even about pulling it apart, because it just isn't about that.
You don't have to. And like
not
that,
at all.
you don't even, like, it's just warms my heart. Yeah, you know, there's like little things. Yeah. You know, I remember a beautiful one, the day one of my sisters was getting married. We were all in the front room getting their makeup done. and a robin flew into the room,
Oh,
started
wow.
circling it. And I always remember because one of the hairdressers was really afraid of birds.
Yeah.
And she went,
I think I might be the same.
and he landed on our Christmas tree.
Shit.
And
Wow.
it just made us all feel like Derek was there with us.
Yeah.
It was a really special moment.
Yeah.
Really, really was.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, I know for me, for me with my husband John and my soulmate, I find that a part of me died and it's gone forever, dead, gone with John, and I don't want it back. It's gone, but there's a part of John that lives on forever in me, and it's starting to rock a bit more lately because I can hear him, and that's exactly it, and it's like I know for sure. And I feel that for sure. And it's like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah. So, but like we said, we'll chat some more when we pop in and out about different, and just to honor your beautiful mummy, She's a beautiful woman. But just Derek, Eugene, and Michael, and just to bear witness that they were on this earth, and just the impact that, sure, look, when you're chatting, I can see the love, I can see the mischief, I can see it all there, and I thank you, and they're here with us now, and I know John is with us as well, I can see them smiling for sure.
I'm doing something special for them. I actually haven't told anyone yet.
Go on, tell everybody
early
now.
Next year, and now I've no choice but I have
to.
So I've signed up, and me, Eugene, and James were going to go, but it's just not going to work with a baby. So I signed up for a half marathon in March in New York.
Fair play. So that's the running. You're back out running. You were
Yes, that's why.
Good.
So I don't know if you've heard of Georgie Crawford. She has a podcast called The Good Glow. But so a group are going with herself and her husband. They've organised this trip, and they're like beautiful, soulful people. Brilliant. And I just sent her a message last week. I told her why I was doing it, and like it's just very special for me to go there and do it. It was booked and paid for before I even knew it, Yeah,
and it's that spontaneity, and it's going with, and sometimes there's a lot of thinking that's not necessary, and going, I know this. Look, I'm here with you tonight. If someone had said to me 6 months, a year ago, even, absolutely, I know I'm to do this podcast, and I know where it's coming from, and I know to trust. So I totally get you. It's like, just okay, I know to do this, the intentions are good, and then I'm to let go. And it's exactly like that. It's, you just know, in this lifetime, while I'm here, this is something I'm to do. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, I know. Hold on. We dropped the microphone. There we are. And we're back again. How's that? But listen, that is absolutely fantastic. And I suppose, I think we've sort of asked the 4 questions there, haven't we? How are we doing? You tell me, Mrs. How are we doing?
So,
we've done
think what were the 4 again?
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because the conversation is going in the direction that it's meant to go, and that's far more important. And I mean, as I say, we're going to look at, and what I like the idea of as well is, and trust in ourselves and trust in the conversation, is that we're interested in, we read a lot, we look at a lot of things, and there's reasons why we do, and then sort of how they might help us, or in our day-to-day. And I know you spoke quite a lot around different things that have, for you, I'm very conscious of, you've bared your soul and you've opened your heart. I know you, so I know this is what the conversation is for. So I'm very conscious of that, and I feel very privileged and very blessed to be having this conversation with you. I'm always just with yourself, Olivia, and we've got even closer, if that's possible, in the last 3 years. You are a very, very special, very, very special lady in my heart. And the journey of how we've met, and I met you with you and your mammy initially, I think that's my memory, yeah. And then just going along, and we just clicked, and then being part of a journey in an organization where we could have an impact, or we could throw our tuppence worth in and just see if we could be part of change. And then though, carrying on, as I say, and I'm Jesus with James and the last few years, and you know, as your friend, even I was thinking when you were chatting there tonight, like you'd literally only had a baby, and all that was happening around you, so your body would have been traumatized, and I can't even imagine. But I know that's something we'll chat in time around that physical trauma in your body, from grief, from loss, from and as you say, all different types of experiences in life, and some of the little things that we're trying to find that help and make a difference. So I know we'll over time and tap in and tap out, just like that, just to share, and if it's of value to somebody. I know. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, the impact on the body is something I wouldn't have been aware of, say,
horrendous
when Derek died. I was just turned 14.
Yeah.
But now, when I look back, I think my lifestyle now really supports me in living a life very true to myself. And I'm so conscious now of, like we were saying earlier, the gift in all of this is that we know the brevity of life, and it really makes you look at your life and, connect with, ask yourself the important questions. Is there enough joy in my life? Love in my life? Am I happy? Am I happy in my career? Am I going in the right direction? All really important questions. And I think what helps you hear the answers to them questions is when your body is in sync.
Yeah.
And it's but it's even to be aware of how it might be impacted by trauma is huge. But I definitely know with me, my nervous system would have been in a very heightened state for a long, long time.
Big time, yeah.
And I just know now, like, the importance of stuff like, you were aware of my little morning routine here, a ritual that I have. And I really love sea swimming now.
Yeah.
I don't do much swimming. It's more just going in cold water immersion, and threading the water, dip my head. If I don't do that, I'll have a cold shower at the end of my normal shower.
Yeah.
But whatever it does, and I'm not like simplifying anything, but I do know the impact of that.
Yes, you do.
I feel it. And just your whole state changes.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of stagnant energy like that can be caught up in your body. And I know, say at the moment, you're experiencing some of that. It's very hard to find, though, it after going through so much, then to have the energy to actually try and do anything is very, very difficult. So, but I know it's a huge, I know as well, John was an acupuncturist.
He was,
and he had so much knowledge to share.
Yeah.
But one thing, I suppose, he was so wise. And one thing I always remember him saying was about how he loved to welcome the day in the morning, that he would stand outside. That's so beautiful, like that he...
I used to say to me, you mad or what, until I realised the value of it. Yeah, no, I get you.
And the same in the evening, like to close out the day.
Yeah.
But them little rituals in your life are very important because they really ground you. And say, I know there was a period, like we just moved here and lots was going on, and I really felt the rawness of, like Derek, say his loss was really coming in on top of me. And I remember, so I'm part of this soul space community, it's called.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful community run by Miriam Hussey and her husband Jerry. And, they do loads of like sustaining practices, like, yoga, speak a lot about energy management, the chakras. They've great talks, great people on, and I know you're going to have great people on this, but like that, similar. And they came down to Dunmore East for one of the days, and we did a hike down here. There's a lovely cliff walk, and then we had say Jerry gave a talk then just on this lovely little beach called Portally Cove. And I just, in that moment, it was like, afterwards I felt very vulnerable because, I was asking, something had come up for me. And, obviously with suicide, there's a lot of unanswered
Oh,
questions and stuff will just bubbling up to the
yeah,
surface.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I just like let it out. And, there was such a beautiful group of people. I've met such like good friends there. But Jerry actually said, he's done a lot of work on grief and with people. And he said, like, a beautiful question to ask in this is like, what would love do?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that's a real theme in the people we love to read about, like Marianne Williamson, Eckhart
Mm-hmm.
Tolle,
Mm-hmm.
Oprah. They
Mm-hmm.
all speak about the power of love and tuning into that. And John O'Donoghue writes about it. I mean, it's a central theme in all of his books.
Yeah.
But it is true, because I know one thing for sure, and that is that our people do not want us suffering now.
No, God, no. That's easier said than done, and that's where I would. And I think what you said there, and I was, and you know, you're talking from life experience with so much, that loss, that pain, that trauma, and then yet just having a willingness when you can. And as you said, it took a lot of time, and you're going back many years ago where stigma was really revved up, and to even get to the places you had to literally crawl sometimes. And I know that from me and you chatting, and I think like that. Finding what works for you, and yeah, it's so traumatic. It's losses that are traumatic, all losses, but just that individual impact, and nothing on this earth prepares you. And I think just when you were saying there, and I remember John, my husband, he'd go out and he'd say hello to the morning, and he'd say good night then in the evening. But he used to, do you know what I loved? Because he was sort of a real no bullshit guy. And he'd go out and he'd say, what are you up to now? He'd say, I'm saying hello to the morning. I'd say, okay. And he'd say, all going well. I'll say good night tonight. And I go, okay. So I sort of took that on a bit, and I said, God, that's all right. And I've late days in the last year or two, and maybe even more so recently, I've sort of it came about the words that were for me, because I've got to find my own words as well. And I know, like you said, that's what they want for us. I can hear them saying, come on, Car, come on. And but also seeing the devastation and impact just completely around, and how we're trying to find green shoots, and how we're trying to live and feel alive again. So I would get up in the morning now, and I love it. And you know what I do sometimes? I'd go out, and if it's absolutely pissing out of the heavens, I'd get the slippers off, and I'd be out in the feet just to feel the wet on my feet, and go, because I'm alive, because I can. And I love that time of the morning. It's quiet and it's still, and I feel very. I look, my ask of life is peace, because there's so much pain. I ask just for peace and a bit of content. I'm not even going after the happiness, just peace, just that peace and quietness, and whatever comes out of that. And I go out then, as I say, if it's raining, I'll have the shoes off and I have a little walk, or else I walk out to my gate and I look down, and I just say, what I would say now is I just say hello to the day, and what I'm grateful for. Now, some mornings I can't, but most mornings I can. It just depends on the pain, you know what I mean? So I would just say what I'm grateful for, and I'd always say good morning to John and tell him how much I love him, except for the days I'm really pissed with him, and then I'll give out to him, which he'd go, thank God you're still being yourself, Caroline. But I would then say, I'm going to let go and surrender the day to unfold of its own accord, because it's going to anyway. The day is going to come, and the day is going to do its thing. And then I just ask, I just say, look, could you just direct me a little bit and guide me a little bit? That's all I'm asking for, because sometimes I just don't know. I'm so lost. So that would be how I would say hello to the day. And then in the evening time, I go out, I love the stars. Oh my God. And I send love to different people, and to families who are, having to experience, all families suffering and pain. So I would then say, right, I'd say thank you for the day that I got a day, no matter how that day unfolded, I got a day. And then I would let go the day that was. because it was. I can't change it. So I would say I let go of the day that was. And a bit like you said, sweetheart, there I do that as a practice every day.
Mhm.
And there is, because, I had to live in a 24-hour period,
Yes.
but also separate to that, John used to say, Caroline, 24-hour period, and then break it down. Do the morning, So for me, I, like you, I see them rooting for us. I see them go, come on, just even these type of things when you can, and look up at the sky, see the sky, look out, look at the rain. But I know they also understand, like you said, that this is so hard, so hard. But I do enjoy saying hello to the day, and I do now enjoy saying good night to it. And I can't imagine not. It's very rare when I don't now. So I get it. I get it.
Like them moments,
Yeah.
the pain is there. I mean,
Oh,
it's a
can't
feeling
breathe.
that, I mean, I still find it hard to stay in it if it comes.
Yeah.
But I know that it's important too.
Yeah, when you can, over
when,
time.
When it comes,
yeah, absolutely.
At this stage. But
yeah.
Still, I mean, I could say this today, God knows, like
absolutely.
It's so dependent on a lot, numerous factors. Like I shared with you about, it's like, the sea that I was swimming the other, like I've been swimming here for a year every morning, and it's been amazing. And it's like the ocean had another message for me. What morning was it? Monday morning. I went down, and I got caught in a bit of a current, and it was okay. I was, say, a big wave came and pushed me in, but then I was out like at ankle deep, and a big wave was coming behind me, and it took like the legs from under me, and the power of that. And it just reminded me, like, it's like the yin and yang in life. I've had such beautiful experiences in that sea. Like even last weekend, say, it was icy and there was this coastal fog and the sun was just rising. It was absolutely beautiful. And then, like, I left the sea the other morning, and I haven't gone back in since because I'm rattled by it, But I'm very aware of that. And I know I'll get back in at some stage, but it's not
just the fragility and just the unknown. And I know we'll chat a little bit more with John O'Donoghue, who rocks around the visible world and the invisible, and they're side by side. And I was thinking, when you were talking about the guys tonight, and obviously I've just mentioned my beautiful husband as well a number of times, that I just, I'm in the visible world for now, so are you. And the ones that are going ahead are in the invisible world. And for me, again, as we said, it's a very personal, we're side by side. And I do feel at times more when I'm being held, because I know it's not me, because I'm going, I don't have anything left in me. I don't have anything left in me to physically even. I mean, tonight I have hot water bottles on my back. I'm going, I use Ayurveda, as you know, and I use conventional. And Don Brennan's going to come in and talk about Ayurveda. I know.
I've heard so much about Don over the years.
He's so cool. He's so cool. And then I have a really good doctor. But like that, it's just my back and my stomach, and my gut is knotted up, and I get it. I know, but like that, I'm saying, okay, this is the physical. So what little things can I do? But again, we'll chat about those, and we'll get to hear some lovely people who have gone on some, journeys around these ways of managing, and very not complicating it, and not a to-do list or not a sheet. It's none of that. None of that.
It's stuff to have. And I when I think about gifts in loss, one of them, I guess, Derek, that whole experience led me to working for the charity and meeting you and John, who were very in tune with the importance of looking after your body. Like, I remember with the experience with James, you sent me a beautiful package, all to pamper my body, and you kept saying that to me, look after your body. And I had not even been in my body for months. It just, it just kind of brought me back a bit. And it's only in the last while, like, I feel like I'm on steady ground. I went back, say, working full time in May, and I'm kind of back into the swing. But it's also almost like I can't believe, you know, things are okay for now. And it's like, I'm kind of going with that, and I'm very mindful, and I'm doing practices that I know sustain me and give me, like, make me feel alive. But, you know, I guess there's loss happening every day. People, it doesn't have to be the death of a loved one, like lots of different types of losses that are really difficult. And I think navigating them is so important, and we don't always know where to turn. And I think that's why, you know, conversations like this are very important in that way, because, you know, what has worked for you, what has worked for me, and I can speak from my lived experience of this.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I can wholeheartedly say it was a myriad of things. Like, you know, so many things, but a lot of the stuff was body related, like acupuncture, Chinese medicine, EFT, Tai Chi, Qigong,
lots of different
you know,
things,
in addition to therapy.
And it's going to be different things at different times. And I think, but, like, go on, sorry, Sarah, go on.
No, I was, but it's so, like, valuable to know about all of these things and the impact, the positive impact they can have. And it can take a while to find your groove or what works for you. And one thing, we're all so unique, you know, not it won't be the same thing for everyone. But I mean, I wish I had known about this stuff in my teens. I really do, because it was only in my early 20s when I actually started. And, you know, like, you introduced me to beautiful lady Kathleen.
Wow,
and
my darling,
you know, with her processing a lot of the adversity I've been through.
Great lady.
Yeah, it's a whole other area. But even Dawn and some of the, like, stuff you shared.
Hold on, we're back again. I'm doing well with the mic.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfect, As I said, we're keeping it natural. We're keeping it natural, as you said, my apologies with Dawn as well, And I think, like that, I know we're going to finish up soon. I think for the first time last night, I was able to have a full body massage, but it was with someone I know, beautiful woman, Sharon, that I have a relationship, because for the first couple of years I felt I had no skin, and I thought, well, if I have no skin, how can I hold it together? I'm going to fall apart. I just kept looking at my body going, I just felt I could see through it, and that's pure trauma, pure and utter trauma. And I thought, Jesus, I'm going to fall apart. So that was huge. So physically I couldn't, and it's like, you got to, you know, adjust completely like that, and that's still there, and it still comes. And again, like you will chat about things that I used, and sometimes I would just keep saying to John and people going ahead, please, you see the bigger picture, please help me just find some way of catching. I can't breathe, I can't move, and whatever. And then people hear, and then sourced out books and different things, and contacted people who have built relationships, and the same with yourself. But I know that for me to be able and go, because my back's in a hoop, which I get it, don't like it, but I get it. But I was able to have a body massage last night, and again, I didn't think I could again. So I know this is what we're going to continue to look at, and like we said, we'll keep talking and chatting and sharing, because hopefully, if there's one or two pieces in here, and that's what it's about, isn't it, sweetheart? Of course. How are we doing? I've dropped the mic twice, so that's pretty good. So Connor, do not edit that, right? And just a little, Dawn Brennan is lovely, and I was actually talking to Jerry Murphy today. He's wishing us luck, and a number of people. But Dawn sent through, may the light shine brightly from Caroline's corner. Wow. Isn't that lovely? Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, it's fair play to. Tell me, sweetheart, anything you'd like to say, or how you, or anything, you know, for you. And thank you so much. I feel so blessed having this conversation with you. I really, really do. And I love you. I love you so much.
I love you too.
Thanks, Weird.
No, I think, you know, these are such important conversations, and I maybe probably will finish on this.
Okay.
Just one thing we spoke about before. So a good friend of mine introduced me to a guy, Peter Hanlon, I think that's his name.
Okay.
I've just had one conversation with him, but I worked with her for years at LinkedIn, and so this guy, he is very experienced in bereavement. He works or runs bereavement camps in Barrettstown. I've just had one conversation with him, but it was so impactful.
Okay.
I went on a call with him, I wanted to find out about his training in bereavement and loss, because I do, you know, like a lot of people do reach out to me when they have experience, because they know what I have experienced in my life, and you know, I'm interested in it. I'm drawn. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I pull away from it. But it is there, and it is an area. And you know, I do hope to volunteer with Barrettstown at some point. I think, you know, it's from the experience with James, it's brought that whole other dimension into my life now. And anyway, I was asking him about that, but then the conversation, as it does, took a complete turn.
Brilliant.
And before I knew it, like the tears were running down my face. He's so much experience. We had a beautiful conversation.
Okay.
But he spoke about the second mountain. That it sounds like you've reached the second mountain.
Wow.
And
powerful.
It was powerful.
It is.
So there's this guy, David Brooks, and I haven't read the book, but I've since listened to him and Oprah.
Hoping we get him on this at some stage. So we'll tag him in. Brilliant. Sorry.
And I probably won't do this justice, but he talks about how life, you know, we can define life as two mountains. So the first mountain is all about, I guess, the self, the ego, and your personal goals, your career, your ambitions, which isn't a bad thing for a while. But, you know, eventually you realize that success and career does not equate in any ways to a fulfilling life by any means.
No.
And then he speaks about the second mountain, and the second mountain is all to do with living a life, you know, beyond the self, like a life of service to others, a more heart-centered and heart-giving life. But you can only reach the second mountain, unfortunately, when you've had, you know, adversity in your life. And what happens when that adversity happens? You fall into the valley between the two mountains.
Absolutely.
And, you know, some people, I know I was in it for years, a lot of people, you know, don't make it out. And the people that do make it out, it's other people around them, support, like, you know, different therapies like we've spoke about. But when you get to that second mountain, you're a different person. And you can look back to the first mountain, but you're never going to be there again. And in some ways, you know, because so much has happened, you've changed so much. I don't know, would you go back? I mean,
you can't.
There's lots of, you can't anyway.
No,
you know,
go back in life.
There's so many gifts, I guess, and lots of things can change in your life.
I have to say, anyone listening, David Brooks, and well worth listening. I've listened to all of his number of his interviews on YouTube, and when he was chatting about the mountains and a lady he met, and her daughter had died quite tragically, and she said, as she was on that second mountain, she said her address book is totally different. Where she thought, could, would, should, she said her address book is totally different. But he's a super guy as well. And food for thought, food for the soul.
Absolutely. And Peter actually said that too. You know, a lot of people realise their address book changes for a variety of different reasons. But you know, you're on a completely different frequency when life happens. And you know, there's lots, you know, you can talk about in that too. But I do believe the right people stay in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So my beautiful Olivia, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I was really excited, and I'm still excited, that I get to facilitate the meaningful conversations, because I'm being greedy. I want to get out of them. I'm like, and it's like yourself, and that you're going to pop in and out, and then the other people that I've asked to come on, and I just feel, God, this is so lovely that I get to, like, I don't know where your conversation is going to go. You don't know, but we're, there's a comfort of just trusting and going with it. And I feel very blessed and very honoured, and thank you that you felt safe to open your heart, and I've no doubt the impact that your beautiful soul will have on people, and I really, really mean that, and that we can just continue, and we just, like that, we've made a deal with each other, our intentions are good, and we're just going to go with the flow. And we might start, we've chatted during the week about tonight, but both of us, we both felt the people in our hearts that aren't with us physically on this earth, and we both trusted wholeheartedly. There was no issue, and I'm sitting here tonight and I'm going, this is the way it should be, and whatever way this is the way it was meant to be, because they have our backs. So again, why would you question that? So I just totally enjoyed just talking with you. I think you've an amazing mummy, and your son is just absolutely adorable. And we'll throw Eugene in the pot, God forbid we forget the fella. And I'm just so looking forward to the journey that the two of us are on, sweetheart. And like I said, I love you, and thank you very, very much.
It's an absolute pleasure, Caroline, and I've enjoyed, every minute talking to you, and I do, as we do weekly, but it's been an honor. And like you said, if that's the thing, like, even, on that second mountain, it's all about being of service to others. And I think that, that is one of the gifts and the blessings as well from going through difficult times, is sharing when you're in the space.
When you're able to, yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're able to, and the amount, that's just enough for you, isn't that it, sweetheart? Yeah. Thank you, darling. I know we're going to see each other in a few weeks' time, and I'm so looking forward